show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, money ladder.
I think I should coin that word, money ladder.
I mean, you're literally bossing two businesses and you're thriving. I see your community
crushing
growing.
it.
You're crushing it, yeah. So, how do you do it?
I remember asking a friend of mine, how are you? How's the business? In her words, she said, I'm doing my best. I'm going to answer just like her. I'm doing my best.
Typical Twitter response from just in there. And I'm not surprised.
No, but seriously, I mean, I'm a huge fan.
Thank you.
I love your community. Those people are loyal. They are gangster loyal. I've seen gangsters who do not have that level of loyalty. Well, I think someone like me, right? I've tried businesses and I like to put blame where blame is.
Yeah.
In my case, it has been, oh, you got this done and learned how to do it. Oh, it's going well. And then I get bored. Okay, you've been there, you've done that. I want to read on something else. But I have seen entrepreneurs who struggle on one business. They are struggling. They're putting everything. They've done seminars. They've done work. They've even paid for consultation. And they're still not getting returns.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say they should manage that? What advice would you give to them?
That's a very good question. And I like the fact that you acknowledge that there are times when people have tried, but deep down in your heart, you know that you did not give it everything. And there are times when you've truly given it everything. You've done everything. In those cases, you just really have to look at the numbers and tell yourself the hard truth. Now, let's talk about timing. There are certain ideas that are great ideas. However, they came in too early. The timing wasn't right. Another person can come with the same idea 5 years after, but the market is ready for that idea and then it catches fire. So it looks as though they did all the right things when it was really just time and chance. The timing was right. Or somebody had prepped the market for them. So several years back, I studied in Johannesburg and I remember seeing that there was a new startup in Nigeria that was, selling things to people and people were paying before they got the codes and they felt like, what? Nigerians trusted them? But guess what? As of today now, a lot of sales are happening on Instagram. People are paying and then it's normal. You hardly find a vendor that's going to, wait for you to... Exactly. So sometimes it's timing. Sometimes maybe it's just not the right team for that particular idea. Sometimes not the right market, maybe in the wrong market. Sometimes it could also be funding, right? So somebody else comes with better funding and they sweep up the market you've been trying hard to be able to figure out. So it could be a myriad of reasons. And I also think it's very important to also remind entrepreneurs that you are not your company, in the sense that if you've done everything and it doesn't work, don't beat yourself up. It has happened. What next? Many of the time you speak to some successful founders and they got it on their second try, they got it on their third try, or they got it on the fourth try. If that particular business is not coming forth, it could be another one. And all that experience does not go into waste, right? It's knowledge that can be transferred to something else.
Knowledge that can be transferred.
Yeah, and what you just said now makes me want to go that path a little further. Okay, so not to assume, do you believe in the idea of outliers? If you do, do you think it applies to businesses as well? Because now you have spoken about the fact that someone could have tried all of these things and it doesn't work out. Does it now mean that it is possible that for some people they are not just meant to succeed at businesses? Yeah, because also when you look at the number of businesses that are doing so well, big corporations that are grown really big compared to the number of people who actually go into businesses, the numbers are they are far apart. Does it then mean that it is possible that perhaps
just not for you,
and it's just for the outliers?
I wouldn't answer that question directly, but I'll answer that question with the data that I am aware of. I love data. I was reading a research and they were looking at unicorns in the world. For those that are hearing about unicorns for the first time, a unicorn is a company that has hit a valuation of $1 billion. Yeah. And when they did the research, guess what? About 50% of the unicorns came from Ivy League institutions, right? Majority of them were from Harvard. So you had Harvard, you had Stanford, you had Watson, you had MIT, and a couple of other Ivy League institutions. 50% from those institutions. Wow. Is it possible that there could have been a selection process from these Ivy Leagues that created it? Was it time and chance that happened? Was it the network that those people in those Ivy League institutions leveraged on in order to become unicorns? Was it the way they were taught that wired their brain in a certain way? I have not carried out any empirical study to further investigate, but I'm just using that data to answer your question.
Okay.
How on earth is it possible that 50% of all the unicorns were coming from Ivy League institutions? I do not have the answers.
Everything.
Why? Could it have been? Could it be a mix of everything? Could it have just been? Could it have been a coincidence? What drove those numbers? But yeah.
I mean, like you said, there are no data. I mean, there's no data to back these things up. But I personally kind of believe this thing has a lot to do about it, because look at the Nigerian case also, for instance. There are people from a particular institution from Nigeria whom we can tell that are doing absolutely very well in the marketplace, either as business owners, startup founders, or even as employees. So it makes me think that there is something about
You
some
can kind
of
of
the
trace it back to the institution.
I was being diplomatically correct, but I want to agree with you that there's a trait. There's a trait of winners. And when you see them, you will know.
And you know, that even goes as far back as I remember when I was in secondary school, and we were going to get into into secondary school. I was in primary school, going to get into secondary school. Some schools were just, you know, you can tell that they were for the best of the best. I mean, I schooled in Ibadan, and you hear schools like Loyola College, you know that you go try if you go enter that kind of school. So I mean, just to further reiterate what we already established about you know, how it works with some of those institutions.
Ivy Leaguers tend to have a very strict selection. I mean, I've had friends who were trying to get into Harvard, and they had the grades, they had everything. They even had the amazing backstories that touched on coming from a third world country and all, and they still didn't get them. Because at the end of the day, it cuts across so many things. Your grades, yes. Your culture, yes. Their education, yes. There's just so many things they look at before they pick. And you can tell that these people are looking for standouts. So when they pick them, the chances of success are really high. So it's, I think it's a mix of everything. The school you go to, the kind of personality those schools even pick, the network you make, the kind of people you meet, it kind of wires your mind differently. And then you come out, you enter the market, and you're thriving. You're thriving almost immediately. If you are a 9-to-5, you're getting jobs that people have been pining for decades, and you're just out of school, fresh out, and you're in. So I think it's a mix of all of them.
And I also think it's important to state that the fact that this seems to be a trend is not. I mean, people should stop trying what they are. I mean, do you understand? If we'll all have to stop because we feel we didn't go to the best of schools, or we don't have the best of social associations, then because there are other people who have thrived even out of this.
So another thing I wanted to ask you about is your community. For every startup, we're beginning to realize that to thrive, you need an active, loyal community. People who before they wake up, they're waking up you. Once they think, this is my first time. How did you build that community, and how would you advise startup businesses or brands to build a loyal following?
Okay, great. So the funniest part is when you go out trying to build a community, you might almost want to gamify the entire thing that you might not achieve it. So when I started out wanting to build Money Africa, I literally felt like I was speaking to my friends, and I just wanted to let them know about money. I've always done it on Facebook. I always write Facebook posts. I just randomly tweet on Twitter. Then a friend of mine from secondary school sent me a message and said, "Tosin, have you considered taking this thing to Instagram and just, dedicate, it's like instead of it just being all over, like you dedicate a page, just for it." It's like, okay, that doesn't sound bad. So, and I opened it. Initially, it was called Money Monday, right? And then I was just talking because I was in paid employment, and just on Mondays I'll just go there talking about money, and then it happened. So number one, I didn't set out saying, we want X something of loyal customers. I wanted to teach. I wanted to share knowledge, and I just wanted you to listen. I just wanted to share knowledge. I wanted to carry you along. It was value. So whether they pay me or they did not pay me, I was going there to show up. It was my time, it was my data, it was my energy. Even in the midnight, I'll be in the DMs, answering the question. It was genuinely from the depth of my heart. I really just wanted to do it. Right, that was one. Number two, I also took a lot of feedback. I was listening to the people and asking them what they wanted to hear, and I was able to respond to it. Then number three, as we began to grow, because communities are really, really great But now the next thing is when you grow, what next? How does that happen? Because it's easier to manage 100 people, 1,000. But the minute you get into hundreds of thousands, what happens then? How do you share that DNA, right? So you also want to be able to carry your people along. You will lose some of them because sometimes people really just love that nice small community. But you also stay, they don't want something bigger.
Important.
So how do you keep the authenticity? Whatever you promise them, you want to deliver. So without fail, we send newsletters 3 times a week. So I want you to know that no matter what happens, on Monday you're getting a recap of what had happened in the financial market last week. On Wednesday you're going to get something touchy, and on Friday we are taking community questions and we're answering it. So fulfilling your promises and just going ahead, and then enjoy the journey. Yeah,
that sounds to me like a lot of hard work, though.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, newsletter 3 times a week sounds like
I mean, a lot.
And a lot of manpower.
A lot.
And a lot of mental energy.
Do you understand?
So how do you manage that?
I mean,
we have a team.
No,
Right.
but you said when you started, it was just
when I started, honestly, I was looking back a few days because like, how was I doing that? I was literally doing like 5 or 10 people's work.
Wow.
Yeah, because even when we used to go to have physical venues to take sessions, I was there, right? I was literally doing everything.
Wow.
So, also, I guess there's also that exuberance, also a bit younger then, right? So like
You had energy.
so like you're just giving all the energy, just channeling it in and doing everything. So but it was quite interesting, but I'm very happy now that we have a team. And also as you grow, so for instance we have Money Africa Kids, which is an app for children to teach them about money. Then we have Ladder, our savings and investment platform. Then we have Money Africa Adults. So as the company is growing, you're also having different roles, and it only makes sense to have a team.
Makes sense. In addition to what you have said, it sounds to me like using your example and some other examples we have around, looks like if you're going to build something solid like you are doing, not to say you've done, it looks like a lot of things have to, be about or around the founder. I don't know if you can speak to that. If it is, I mean, I don't know if it's a myth.
It's not a myth, right? But there are also, I know quite a number of founders as well that have grown really fantastic businesses that is not tied to them. There are some founders that are more vocal than others, right? And I think also personality comes into play. Either ways you can succeed. So you just need to get the buy-in of other people. There are some people, I remember there's a company, I wouldn't call their name. The guy announced is transitioning to another role. I said, what do you mean by transition? The founder of that company. So he carried the company on his head as though he was the owner. So for a lot of business owners, when you identify those kind of people, you have to do everything in your power to get them to stay, because there are people that you will teach, you will beg, you will influence. There's some other people like on their own, they just carry it, right? A founder cannot or does not have to be the voice and everything. If you can find other people that love the company as much as you do, get them on.
If you can find a way to basically, I call it like, okay, so I'm anointing on the head, and then you find a way to put that trait that you have, share that dream, share your dream.
Absolutely.
That also speaks to the people culture in that workspace.
Fantastic. That's the work that's what we're looking for, the culture, people culture.
Do you want to shed more light on how founders, how business owners can build a robust people culture where people are comfortable enough to never want to leave, if that's possible?
I mean, the truth is you can build everything and people will still want to leave. It doesn't mean that the culture isn't great, and culture is a constant learning, right? You just want to constantly learn in terms of how can we create an environment that is great, even if they stay for 1 or 2 years. At the end of the day, remember that your company is like a DNA, and every time, so for instance, like I apply for opportunities or anything, my previous employer sometimes still goes on those applications, right? And if I'm doing that, then most likely all the people that I've ever worked with us are most like, so they're like your ambassador, for lack of better words, right? So you also want, it's in your best interest that they also do well, right? Because you're still linking them back. So imagine one of them goes ahead and become president of Nigeria tomorrow. If they're reading their CV, they're going to say, finished NYSC, yada, yada, yada. Worked at, that's free branding for you. Right, so if we look at it from that perspective, you also want to just create an environment.
Experience,
so them staying is great, but even if they go, the DNA is there. There's still, you want to also get where, there's times when people that have left send me, oh, Tosin, I found this opportunity, or Tosin, I'm speaking to, you want that. You want them to be soliciting for you even when they are not around.
Yeah.
So it's a great one. And to be honest, I think also because, I'll speak for the fintech space. It's still relatively young. The oldest fintech is like 6 or 7 years. So we're still like constantly growing. We're learning things.
Yeah.
How can we do best? How can we improve? How can we continue to improve? So it's a journey. Yeah.
Oh, that's a very good perspective. The part of being ambassadors even after they leave the workspace is something I haven't thought about, and I think that's something very
It's a
instructive for business owners to keep in their minds. And if people come from that, if they think about it from that perspective, they're not so.
They'll probably do better in terms of
do you
consequences.
get-
That's true.
So
So I would want to digress a little.
okay.
But it's still definitely in your line. So, for most businesses and startups, the start of the year is like, oh, we're doing a lot of planning. These are our goals and all those things. But then you see by February, March, it starts shaking. The goals start shaking. Economy, policies, and things like that start hitting.
Yeah.
And then they start reacting as opposed to being proactive. So, question one is, how do you create strategies that last the entire year and you do not necessarily deviate from? And then secondly, how do you build the kind of resilience that allows it that when policy changes and economic changes and things like that start hitting, you can still stand on your goal? Yeah, maybe do some adjustment, but you're still pursuing that same goal as opposed to just running helter-skelter and trying to be reactive.
Okay, that's a very good question. And I'm not coming from a point of, oh my gosh, we're perfect, we figured it all out, we stick to our goals. Because some of the things you've mentioned, like, we also struggle with that, right? So coming from a point of, we are also trying to figure it out. So in terms of planning, you can create the best of plans and all of that. But what we always encourage is that it has to be a bit realistic, right? So let's say you were making revenue of, just example, doing like 100 million every year and you're shooting for 10 billion, right? It's not impossible. Anything is possible. Like, you could have come up with a product mid-year and done crazy marketing, and that gives you those numbers. But you also have to be realistic. Where were we last year and where do we want to go, right? Just a bit of realism into it, building the structure, carry everybody along, let everybody know what we're trying to achieve, and also update them of the progress.
Yeah.
I remember a fellow founder asking that, do we share revenue numbers with everybody on the team? Like, people ask all those things, right? So you can do what works for the company. So some people prefer to share it with those that are directly impacted with it. So let's say the sales team, as opposed to everybody in the company. And it's okay. Every company can just do what works for them. At the end of the day, we all want different things, right? So what is your goal? Do I want to be a unicorn? Do I want to become a $200 million company, which is fantastic if a lot of African companies even hit those numbers? Is it $100 million company? Is it $50 million company? Is it a $10 million company? Even exiting at $10 million is not a bad thing, right? So just being able to define what those goals are, and then how we're going to achieve it and carrying everybody along. Yeah.
That's clear. That makes a lot of sense. Carrying people along makes a lot of sense. I want to go back to actually where we started from, where BC spoke about businesses failing, struggling and all of that. I was wondering, if you don't mind, share your own personal story with us. I mean, have
it all been perfect?
Do you understand?
It hasn't all been perfect, please, far from it. We've always had our fair share of failures and success. There's none coming to my head at now to share. Okay. But definitely, please.
Because when some of us see you on Twitter, we feel like this is a young person who has done so well.
They just make it seem like it was all rosy all the time, and that's all you see.
Yeah.
And I think businesses fall for that. They assume that because they see the CEOs that have ideally made it, telling them, this is how to do it, and it seems like they've never had any issues.
Exactly.
When they just hit one major roadblock.
And then they've
They've gone from 100 to 10, and then they are thinking, oh, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. Meanwhile, I know that personally, for every success, there has been times when I just couldn't do it, I couldn't do it, I kept hitting, and then I just crushed it, right? So usually, I think what I try to advise people is this: there's an iceberg, and with every iceberg there's a lot of ice under. What you see is just the tip, and that's usually when people come to the limelight, when they've made it enough that you're seeing success. But you find that there's been years and years of work that has gone under all that, right? And there's been a lot of pain and stress and all that, and we tend to fail, especially as young entrepreneurs. We fail to take those things into account. So at the first or slightest hindrance, there's a lot of shaking and, oh, I can't do this again. And then some of them will just run back to 9 to 5 to a done.
And it's okay. It's for those running back to 9 to 5. It's absolutely okay to do that as well. I was watching Zikoko had put up a story about an executive. She was 53 when she retired. So she's retiring with a portfolio of over ₦1 billion from 9 to 5 jobs. So there's absolutely no problem with that. Because of my work as a personal finance expert, we get a lot of people reaching out to us. They genuinely think that entrepreneurship is the only way, and data is saying otherwise, that you're actually able to build wealth in the long run if you have a regular source of income to build. But let's come back to the question to you about failure. So I was looking for an example. Like in 2023, we had won a lot of grants. We got into MasterCard EdTech Accelerator. It was $100,000, and we won a few other. We also got a lot of global stage recognition. And I knew I was doing my 2023 wrap, and I saw a lot of people in the comment section, oh my gosh, wow, geez, this is my dream, and saying all these other things. But what they wouldn't know is that was the year we had applied for 108 opportunities.
Wow.
Yes, and we only got 6. Yes, that was less than 6%. Yes. So imagine every time you apply, and then they'll just say, well, sorry, I just delete. I don't bother reading it. I just delete, right? That was also the first year we had been bootstrapping for 4 years. Yes. And that was the first time we're getting any form of funding from Money Africa. So people could sit and be like, oh my gosh, we had done, it's been
a lot of work.
We had a team, we had an office, we had bootstrapping, pulling it, doing everything. And it was that year that they were like, yes, you won a grant. So my point is, purpose is great, staying on track is great. Also, you have to be very, especially as a woman, an entrepreneur as a woman, right? Very intentional. You want to look at your cash flow and profitability early, right? Because only 2% of them get access to funding compared to their counterparts. So you're not playing with your unit economics. You're not playing with your profitability. From the get-go, you're looking at those cash flows, right? And then, again, like I keep saying about, we all want different things, right? If the vision aligns, you really want this, you've put in the work, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, why not? And if you choose that, I want to chase something else, I want to transition to 9 to 5, absolutely. I think the beautiful thing about life is also going through all these different experiences, choosing what you want, amongst others. And not many people get to be able to try that. So trying alone and its own, it's a success.
I think I want to draw a parallel between what you said now and how it affects people personally too, and maybe people can relate more to it that way. So the way your business applied for over 100 grants and partnerships and all of those things, I think it's the way people see also about applying for jobs. I mean, sometimes you just need to keep knocking and keep hitting on that same spot,
and also improving.
Because
there were times when we applied 1 year after or 2 years after, and if I'm being honest, it was a stronger application that we did the 2 year prior.
I had a friend that was trying to switch roles, and he literally had to, how he did it was, every day he does, I think, 20 or 30 applications every day.
Wow.
He did that for 3 months, was filtering, would get callbacks, would get, maybe not, maybe next time, and then he finally got one, that was perfect. But it took him 3 months of applying to 30
And it
roles
wasn't just
every
3
day.
months, it was the 30 roles, because if he had done 1 role a day,
Exactly.
it might have taken him 2 years.
Actually.
So intensity is also important. He was intense because if you look at that average, if he was using 3 hours a day to do that,
that's a lot of
so look
men.
at that.
He said, if I said at the point that when he applies to this role, when he asks questions and he's going through it, he writes his answers and then saves them on a Google Doc.
That's the only way to
So
go about
when
it.
he goes to another one
Copy
and he
and
sees a new,
paste.
so he just take copy and
Okay.
paste. I'm like,
And he can always improve on
exactly, and then he just sees more. And when he shared his document, I'm like, what? It felt like a lot, but it worked for him because the job he eventually got was really great, right? It just goes to say, sometimes it's not really the time frame, it's the level of intensity and
Yeah,
intentionality you put into it.
resilience, yeah.
Because I know what it will take to apply to 30 jobs in a day.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
a lot.
And then doing that consecutively for 3 months. That's someone who knows this is something I really want and I have to get it.
Yeah.
Imagine if everyone had that kind of drive,
every
whether
business.
it's a 9 to 5 or an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had that kind of grit. A lot of people will be doing a lot
Yeah,
more.
I think we would have more successful businesses
Yeah.
out there too. But there's also a dynamic that she touched on that I would want her to expand on a little more, and that's the aspect of the employer-employee relationship in that kind of situation. So,
Yeah.
as an employer, for instance, you want results, because a lot of money is going into the business, a lot of money basically is going into your employees, ensuring that they are comfortable, but the results are not coming in yet. And I usually tell people, I understand when businesses are that impatient. They need results. Wherever the money is coming from needs to be reviewed or something. How can employers now, sorry, beg your pardon, how can they manage that dynamic to see to it that their employees are not frustrated because of the result they want? They don't drive them away, or they don't even lead them away and say, I'm going to try a new set of people and see if this works out, because I think people do that. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're not giving me the
We're
result
just
I
going to
want.
start afresh.
Yeah, start afresh, that kind of. How can they manage that?
That's a good question. First thing first, if you cannot afford a certain employee, please don't hire them. Wait till you can afford them, right? So there's no excuse whatsoever for people to not, pay your employees or anything. If you can't afford them, you're not able to get results you want. Do the job alone. Don't employ anybody. Yes, don't employ anybody.
That's really good
Yeah.
advice. Really good advice.
Do it alone. Then two, in terms of managing expectations, I mean, there are times I've also wanted really great, fantastic things really fast, and sometimes the team member will just be like, in order to be realistic, that time frame is not going to work. And there are also times that I've also been promised certain time frames that they also did not deliver, right? So it all boils down to honest conversations and just saying what is feasible, what can we do. Also, it helps looking at what has happened in the past, right? While the past does not guarantee future, it sort of creates like a bit of a template. How did we do X in the past? How long did it take us?
Yeah.
How can we improvise on the duration? How can we get better? And there are times that that you've genuinely tried your best, but just that sometimes it's just a capacity thing that we've inspired, we've helped. These people just really cannot deliver, and it's really time to, change. And there are times when people have really just been impatient. So, at the end of the day, it boils down to leadership. You always just have to strive to be, keep ensuring that we're good leaders. And even if we've made mistakes, what can I learn from that? Maybe I fired too early. That what is the learning, right? What else can I do to ensure that we do not repeat that mistake again? So yeah, it's a constant learning process.
Okay, so you said this brings me to something. Actually, when it's a startup and you started with these people, there's some emotional attachments and relationship you build with your staff.
Yeah.
And then let's say the person is just not cutting it, and it's just this person is not there yet. How do you find the heart or to let people go that you have become emotionally attached to? Because I've seen this as problems that friends have had, and they're like, I'm just keeping her because I really genuinely care about her and I know she needs a job. Like, but she's not doing the job.
I mean, if that's the case, what people can also do is they can help people transition. We had someone that helped us, that was helping us at home to clean and cook and all of that, and she wasn't good with the cooking, and even the cleaning not so much. But I knew that she's smart, she's genuinely kind, she's very sweet. There's something Yoruba call animora, like she's what's that word? She's warm, very warm. So with all those traits, I think she'll do better as an assistant to someone, right?
Okay.
So I showed her about platforms where she could learn how to be virtual assistant and all of that. Also, she's great with tech. She'll do better to be like work from home and do that as opposed to that other one was not better. So sometimes people are they're great people. I'm a believer, and I strongly feel that everybody has innate talent and innate capacity, right? They might just not be playing in the area of strength. So things like, point them in the right direction. Take this course. If you have the money, you can help them pay for the course, help them with the transition and everything, and everybody is better off for it. So what happens now is you're not frustrated anymore. You've gotten the right person for the role. She's also going to flourish. She's going to thrive in a new role. Everybody's happy. It's a win-win.
You just solved a lot of people's problems. I know so many people that have that problem currently that you have just fixed it for them.
We're learning every day. Again, for the records, it's not like, oh my gosh, Tosin is perfect or great or anything, but these are some of the things that I've also experienced, right, that I know that,
And I was going to say, I think that speaks a lot to leadership ability on the part of the employer, the entrepreneur. Now, still on that, because they are kind of related, forming associations, partnerships, and all of those things. So before we got on set, someone here was talking about how he has been dealing with a vendor for over how many years now? I don't know, but many years ago, he was saying, speaking of how he doesn't even need to pay to get some things out and all of that. And it makes me just think that this has a lot to, plays a very vital role in making businesses successful.
So able to ride on goodwill.
Exactly.
And trust. That's true.
And also because from what we can see, you also have some form of good social capital with people. What we can see online. Do you please want to shed some light on that?
And social capital? So I read something yesterday, and they said that it's how you behave even when nobody is watching, because you want to impress yourself. It's not about them; it's more about how you're showing up for your own self. How best do you couch this? I know everybody wants respect from other people. Have you ever done something you're like, oh wow, you feel proud of yourself, you feel like respect yourself, right? Or let's say you set goals for the beginning of this year, I'm going to take care of my skin, and you see yourself doing it every day, and there's just this nice feeling in your heart. So where am I going? I think even with social capital, it's just more about I want to respect myself.
This is a standard I'm setting
for myself. And then it filters into other things. You will not always get it right. There are times you will sleep, there are times you make mistakes, but primarily I want to respect myself. I want to do the things that I said I'm going to do, right?
Yes, after that, I think so. There's this thing I do, and then I think my friends tell me, your standards are too high, and then I try to explain it and tell them, see, it's what I expect from myself, so I can expect it from you, because if you've been around me for this long and you haven't grown, something is wrong. I'm doing something wrong, or you're doing something wrong. So usually I tell people, if you have set a standard for yourself, everyone you meet would see it without you telling them. They would automatically also adjust to those standards, even if they are anyhow anywhere else when it comes to you. So it's like, if I know that, this is a vendor that I have been working with for a while, and every time I said this is when I'm going to pay you, and I pay at that time. The next time I come and I tell you, you won't even ask me.
Absolutely.
You'll just automatically get done. And then after that, now say, okay, when are we getting? So I think that's the way it works. So if a lot of entrepreneurs are willing to, one, be self respectable, and have a lot of integrity. I think that works.
It does work.
It does work
because you can created a pattern, so they can know that. It's like For instance, if your pay does not come on a certain day, like, for the past 4 years, they've always paid. This is unlike of this
Something is
person.
wrong.
Something is wrong.
Yeah.
I'll give an example when I was younger. So my dad would send me my allowance, and I knew when they paid him. It was always on 26th of the month. And then there was one particular month I didn't get my allowance on 26th. On the morning of 27th, I didn't see that. I called out, like, Daddy, what's happening? Have you not gotten paid? He said, why? I said, because you're delaying my own allowance. I didn't know he was on sick, so his friends were laughing. But it just goes to say, when you're subconsciously
pattern,
knowing that this is what happens.
Yeah.
When it goes out of pattern, something is wrong somewhere. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I want us to go international right now. How can businesses move from being local to
Global.
Global.
How do you scale globally?
Yeah. And maybe before you touch on that, maybe you can start from the point of is there something like expanding too early?
I mean, that's a good question, because that's a question that we're also trying to answer.
Okay.
So we created Money Africa Kids, an app that educates children about money, and we want to go global. We want to target parents of diaspora, children in the UK, in the US, in different markets, and you're constantly learning. So you're asking about, is it time to go? When is it too early?
Yeah.
I do not have the answers about how it's too early, but it helps when you've sort of built a base in where you're primarily operating, so that even if they search, Money Africa Kids, where are they from? What have they done back home? Right? There's reference. It's point of reference. That is what we've done and all of that. So it always helps, like, at least acquire a little bit of your own market, like just be there, be visible, that you've done some work. So even when you're expanding, they can see. Some companies have a direct expansion rate, because I've seen quite a number of entrepreneurs that are not Nigerians, or even in Kenya, right? They literally come from the US and they come to launch a platform that they do not have in their home country. So there's no cast in stone rule for this thing, right? And then in terms of going there as an international business, you also want to check out, who are the players there? Can we partner? How can we penetrate into that market? How does it work here? Also look at their things like equivalent to like your Commonwealth or things like that in the location that you're going to. So that is like one of our big goals for 2025, and looking for how we've registered a company in the UK, and just looking for how we can expand and get people in the other markets. So to answer your question, when is it too early? I do not have the answers, but you never can tell until you try. There's another company that I love. They make hair, Nigerian, and I see even their markets and how they target buyers from the US. And when I spoke to the founder, she was like, the sales they make from their US clients is way more than they make locally here. So I noticed that they have 2-page, right? So even the way they market, the quality of the picture, everything for the US market is very different. It seems as though Nigerian customers do not mind speak, and it's like almost as though I was like, but why are these 2 pages
different?
The quality and everything, positioning for the US market is so grand, but for the one in locally, it's almost like it's more casual. It's almost, and she was very intentional. So research, speak to other founders that have done it, right, and ask them. You save yourself time. How did you guys do it?
And a lot of failures along the line. So what do we say at Ercas is we tell you, okay, you can create local and then sell global, because we can allow you to pay in almost every currency. So the thing is this, let's say I have I'm a hair vendor, right, and I want to scale to say the US or the UK. Now it's not like they don't have hair there, right? Or I'm a fashion vendor and I want to scale. It's not like they don't have clothes there. It's just, I think it's usually the African thing. Whenever people see anything African, they relate it to culture and colors and just this vibrancy. So I think for us, scaling globally, it's not as difficult as it will be for people in other countries. Our biggest hindrances are policies, the economy, quality of production, like you said. So and I realize now the Nigerians are beginning to be very, very intentional about quality, and eventually a lot of brands, a lot of entrepreneurs will start saying it, that the same way in the US they would not take subpar quality, people in Nigeria are suddenly not having it anymore. We want the best quality at the best prices, right? So I think just understanding the markets that you're playing in, like you said, and trying to avoid pitfalls that other people have made, because it doesn't make sense if you're not the first person doing this. So other people have done it, and you've seen the mistakes they made. You can just have a conversation, right, and then use that to decide, okay, am I going in this direction, or do I want to pivot or change things a little bit? In terms of look, I think maybe I'm coming from a brand perspective. I feel like, maybe if you're speaking to a market like the US or the UK, the language can be different, right? But I don't think you should let it affect the quality.
I agree.
Yeah, I think, because if I'm going to say the same thing, I can say it with Nigerian tone, and it will still have great quality. It will still have great style. It will still have, it might not even be the same theme or the same style, but you can tell that, this was well curated, right? It might have a lot more African theme or African culture, so it can speak to this community or this nation or this kind of people, but I don't think it should affect your quality.
But basically, if we are being honest, will a business person not also consider buying power in the different?
But then, let's be honest, they are already considering, and if we're being real,
the pricing is different.
No, if we're being real now, right?
That would
Nigerian brands that are producing locally, unless if I've not been following the right brands, I see a lot of them surprising, and I'm like, it's even more expensive than what I would buy if I was importing, right? But then when you get delivery, you're wondering why this quality. I mean, if you're going to charge me this much, put that effort, right? And these days, the pricing is not funny anymore. It's not. The economy has given everybody an excuse to now say, okay, you know what, we're shooting these prices up, and we're not playing about it. And I realize that as much as we say there's no money, people are buying.
Oh yes,
I'm buying. You're buying. We're all buying.
It's a sales. It's a volume and price game. So while you might lose some in volume, the price increase makes up for it.
Exactly. Right. So if you're going to sell me something this high, and I have checked the price for the same kind of brand outside the country, and yours is more expensive, give me quality.
Absolutely.
A lot of entrepreneurs need to understand that. See, as much as people say I don't have money, if you give them good quality products, they will spend the money. The money will come out. I mean, I complain almost every day. I complain about, I don't have money. But if I see something I really like, I will still buy it from the money I do have.
But you should stop saying you don't have money. Because first off, you have money. Secondly, you should confess, positively into yourself.
No, I'm a Money Africa follower.
Exactly.
We are very prudent in our spending until we see what we really like. Then Girl Max enters.
Okay, but as a Money Africa follower, does that mean she should say, negativity?
No, we are actually. I'm going to align with you there. Good. We're very intentional about what we're speaking into the air and what we're calling for.
Exactly.
Okay, fine. So I have a lot of money. A lot of money.
Yes, a lot of money.
And spend it. Okay. I'm sure she won't align with that. But
Girl Max. You trying to do what we want to.
Okay. I was wondering if Tosin could speak to acquisition. So I say acquisition. I'm asking because I feel like we still have this particular mentality in this part of the world, and I think we had a conversation around it maybe yesterday or so. So I have a business, a bigger brand is coming to want to buy me off, but then I've been building these things.
I put my sweat and my energy,
and I even approached you to come and invest in.
And you didn't answer me. Now you want to buy me out? Why now?
So how should businesses?
Majority of exits from Africa is from acquisition. Yeah, because our market is not yet that liquid that you can just easily, trade and all of that. It's acquisition. So mergers and acquisitions is like the majority way that, businesses exit. So like how somebody was asking, what am I seeing for 2025? There will be lots and lots of mergers and acquisition. And also for a founder, wouldn't you rather that your company gets acquired as opposed to you not being able to get? Exactly. That's so it's a win, right? And it shows that there's value. Nobody's going to acquire anything that is useless. So if you're seeing an acquisition, that means there is value. There's something to be acquired. And there's assets, right? And an asset was purchased.
So I have this friend that I remember having this conversation with him. He used to be the CTO for Ercas Business 5, and we're talking about I was building a brand at the point, and then he asked me randomly if someone comes and offers you. I was like, with all my energy and my passion. I'm like, no, I'm not selling. And he's like, see, that's the problem. So because at the end of the day, and it took me a while to understand it, a few years, and then now I can say, if I've built this and I put a lot of energy and you come with the right price, I'm not going to let sentiment stop me from. I will
can build again.
I will just sell to you and I will build something else.
Yeah, you can build again.
So I think people who don't want to merge or get bought out, it's usually a sentimental thing. It's just they've gotten too much attachment to the brand and they're just not ready to leave it. But then that's why when they acquire most companies, they keep the founder
exactly.
Just so there's some kind of heart in it.
And then they can generate once that gradually ease them off.
Yeah.
And not all acquisitions are complete. Like again, it's my favorite company, Paystack again acquired, but they're still part of the parent company.
I mean, I wish we could keep tossing here for longer. And, I'm so much enjoying the conversation.
Yeah, but that's the sign you need. That's the sign you need. So, thank you so much. We see what you're doing when you're African and get ladder. We're very proud of you.
Yep.
Thank you.
We are rooting for you.
Absolutely.
And we are probably going to call you back because this was really, really exciting.
Very.
What advice would you give to an entrepreneur who is literally just starting, maybe in ideation, and has seen what the economy looks like and is honestly not sure if, I don't know if I want to push this product. With everything I'm saying, it doesn't seem like it's the right time. I don't feel like I'm going to get clients. The money and the energy I'm going to spend into it, by the time I'm putting like a price range, it might be too far out. What would you advise?
Okay, I'm going to be very realistic. If you not come from a very privileged background where people are going to cover your immediate needs, so things like rent, food, amongst others, you want to prioritize that because it acts like a cushion, right? So many people sometimes say it's okay for people to build in chaos and, that there's no stability. But trust me, stability it helps. So if you can get a job on the side or do some consultancy, you need some cash where it helps you sleep at night. Then you have the brain space and the mental real estate to be able to execute and actually just try. And if we're being honest with ourselves, sometimes people that are able to try for as long as possible till they finally get it is resources. Absolutely. Right? Or even just having some kind of temporary shield, right? And then sometimes people are just not able to go far enough to see it happen. They just do not have that time. So if you can find something that is bringing money on the side to buy you mental real estate while you continue to try and execute. Okay.
I like mental real estate.
So any last words? Any advice?
The year is relatively young. Relatively just started. Enjoy it. Do your best and hope for the best. Yes. Do and hope. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much.